Hey guys, it's me, Tyler MV, and welcome to the Game Savvy channel. This is going to be the first episode of Keeping It Savvy, where I try to keep you game savvy by talking about the latest news and what's going on in the video game world. And what a day to do it, because today is Covfefe Day. Yay! Seriously though, a year from now, March 31st, remember it, it's going to be Covfefe Day, there's going to be t-shirts, it's going to be hats, it's going to be great. Joking aside, today we're going to be talking about Red Dead Redemption 2, Far Cry 5, Destiny 2, Monster Hunter XX, Final Fantasy VII, and Kingdom Hearts 3. It's a lot of numbers. And yes, I did have to practice that. So we're going to start with Monster Hunter XX or Monster Hunter 20. So I've actually never played a Monster Hunter game because I haven't invested in a Nintendo product in quite some time. But with the new Nintendo 2DS, I think it is, 2DS XL, and hopefully I'll be getting a Nintendo Switch sometime soon if I can find one. It's been sold out for like ever. I'll probably be buying this Monster Hunter game. And so I was excited when the trailer dropped because I was like, oh, look at that. It's going to be a Monster Hunter game that I can actually enjoy. So I watched it from start to finish with optimism, and I'm very excited about it. So the trailer starts off, there's this like knight with a giant gun, and he's on this plain of ice, and then all of a sudden some dragon comes in, and there's a tornado, and some wizards shooting at the dragon, they take down the dragon, and then they're on this boat that's like flying up in the air. I don't know what's happening, but it looks amazing, and I can't wait for it. So if you haven't seen the trailer for that, definitely go check it out. So next up, we're going to be talking about Red Dead Redemption 2. And if you haven't heard the news, unfortunately, it's being delayed till spring 2018. This wasn't a surprise to a lot of us. The good news is that they're working hard to develop a pretty good game for you. And here's the deal. My brother and I were talking about it the other night, and game developers are always kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Here's why you should never be mad at a developer for postponing a game. So there's one side of it where a game comes out on time or early and it's broken and doesn't work and their whole fans feel betrayed. And on the other side of it, you have these impatient people who expected a game on a certain date, and when they don't get it, they uprise and they're mad about it. Nobody knows the game better than the developer. And so what they're doing by postponing it is working harder on it because they don't think the game meets their expectations, and they don't think the game, more importantly, meets your expectations as a consumer and as their fan. And so you kind of have to make a choice. You know, the game comes out on time and it's broken and doesn't play well, or you're a little bit patient, you wait a little bit longer, and the game works fine and is amazing and you have a great time. So never fault the developer for postponing their game. I think it's safe to say Rockstar knows what they're doing, so I don't have any doubts that they're going to let us down in any way. And just to keep you happy and excited, you know, you can go watch the trailer on YouTube, and I think they're periodically releasing some screenshots for the game, so you can also check those out around the way. So next, we're going to be talking about Destiny 2. So the Destiny 2 live stream just happened. I was lucky enough to have some free time, so I got to watch the entire stream. And Bungie came out with some fire, man. Bungie was energetic. They really seemed like they were excited to show this new story and this new game they were giving to us. There were a lot of great things that I saw from it. And if you haven't seen, I made a video of all the things that I was looking forward to from this live stream, and you can watch it right up there if you haven't seen it, or maybe right up there. I don't know. Dylan's the producer, so he's going to put it either there or there for you to click. Well, there were a lot of great takeaways from this live stream. The first one, so my favorite thing to do in video games is explore. So the first takeaway that I had was that they're introducing 3 new planets as well as a new area to explore on Earth. So the first planet is Io, and it's kind of like the Warlock safe haven, and it's a very like spiritual planet, very colorful, very bright. It's got a lot of great vegetation, a lot of amazing colors, so that place looks great. And the next planet is Titan. I was a little disappointed with Titan because it's just covered in water, so I want to see how they kind of play on that and how they get creative with that. Hopefully it's not a Legend of Zelda water temple kind of deal, because god damn it, I can't take that again. I can't take that again! And then we have Nessus, where you meet Cade Six. He is the hunter of the Vanguard. Nessus is somewhere between Neptune and Uranus. And this planet's been inhabited by the Vex. And so what you can imagine is, you know, it's got a lot of stone structures that look both ancient and futuristic at the same time. So that planet looks great. And then there's the European Dead Zone, which I don't know too much about. But I mean, it sounds amazing. It's the European Dead Zone. So I'm excited for that. My second takeaway from the event was the story. And so what I said in my first video is that I was excited and hoping for them to really come out and focus on the story. And it looks like that they're doing that. The new story, so you have this Cabal leader, I can't remember his name, but he's jealous that the Traveler picked the human race, or Earth, as its safe haven, and to give Earthlings the light. So he thinks that he's the superior race, and he's come to steal the Traveler to take the powers for his own. and in turn, as the Guardian, you lose your powers and you spend the game trying to get them back. I mean, they're focusing on the story, and they're introducing a lot of personality too. There's a ton more personality from the characters. In the first game, you walk up to the Vanguard and you just have like, small little conversations, but they're very cinematic in this new game, and they're focusing on story and personality. And my third takeaway was they're adding a looking for group, kind of. So what they're doing is they're introducing guilds, and what you can do is get together with your friends and you create a guild, and you guys go raid together and you do strikes together and you do missions together. And so if you're short somebody for a strike or for a raid, you go into these guided games and they'll add a player. And so what I like about this versus looking for group, you get a whole bunch of strangers together, and you don't know each other, you don't feel very safe, and that kind of is a cesspool for like harassment and salty game environments. And so what this is doing is creating guilds, and they're game groups that you already feel safe in, right? You and your friends, you feel safe. So no matter who you bring into that group, you're not going to be intimidated by them. And so what that does is when people come in, you're already accepting of whoever's come in, and you're excited to play whatever mission or whatever raid that you're going on. So the guided game system looks to be like a really great idea. So I'm looking forward to see how that works out and how it's different from looking for group. So shifting gears, we're going to talk about Final Fantasy VII and Kingdom Hearts 3. So Square Enix came out and they said that you can expect Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy VII in the next 3 years or so. Now I know I just went on a whole rant on how you can't be mad at developers for postponing games, but since Kingdom Hearts 1 came out, I've been able to graduate elementary school, high school, college, and university. I've been able to start a career. I've been able to work a couple years at that new career. So my gosh, I think it's about time we deserve a full-fledged Kingdom Hearts sequel. But again, you can't fault the developer for wanting to make an amazing product. So we're just going to have to be a little bit more patient for that. And I'm looking forward to Kingdom Hearts 3. And then on the flip side of it, Square Enix, they hired a third party to take care of the Final Fantasy VII development. I think they were called CyberConnect, if I'm not mistaken. So what they've done is they've taken it in-house to ensure that it's a good quality product and that it meets the expectation of the fans. So this is actually good news. They're putting the effort in. They said that they were aggressively seeking talent out to help with the game. So they're kind of all hands on deck with these games. And so they're ensuring that we get a good product in the end. And last but not least, we're going to talk about Far Cry 5. So Ubisoft came out and they announced Far Cry 5 and they released some artwork for it and some videos for it. And there was a little bit of controversy with the artwork. So if you haven't seen the artwork, it depicts kind of like The Last Supper. There's a guy on his knees. I think he's bound and gagged, and he has Sinner on his back. And what you'll see is a table full of kind of like southerner-looking white people who've got like guns, and they kind of look a little bit hillbilly-ish. But I don't really understand the controversy. I mean, hillbillies, creepy hillbillies, have been a villain in pop culture for almost as long as I can remember. I mean, in the 1970s, you had Deliverance, where these guys go out into the forest and they get terrorized and a lot more by some hillbillies. And then in the most recent games, you have Outlast 2 and Resident Evil 7, who the villains are also kind of like religious hillbillies and fanatics. So I really don't understand the hate. I really don't understand the controversy. I've always been a fan of that angle. I've always been a fan of like the southerner hillbilly type fanatic who's extremely religious and kind of lives under a rock a little bit. So I don't know. I think they took a right direction. I think they're trying to get a little bit political with it. The only problem is I hope they get the message right in going so political. You know, a lot of times you see people come out and they try to be political and they try to have a message, but they kind of remain leaning on the fence as to not offend anybody. So I kind of hope that they get it right, and we'll see where that goes. But I'm personally a huge fan of the Far Cry series. You know, Far Cry 3 is one of my favorite games. Far Cry 4, you know, it had its ups and downs, but it was still a great game. With Far Cry 5 coming out, I think that should be the message. I think we should all be excited for this adventure game where we get to shoot him up and we get to take on, you know, this new villain who's this religious fanatic. And I think you're in between the religious fanatic and the U.S. Marshal Service. And so you'll get allies and you'll be going into churches. And I don't know. It honestly just looks like a great game. And I think it's not being talked about enough that Far Cry 5 is coming out. And so let's make that the message. Let's talk about how excited we are to see that game come out. So thank you guys so much for watching the first episode of Keeping It Savvy and the Game Savvy channel. And if you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much for listening. I absolutely appreciate it. If you like what you see, go ahead and like and subscribe the video. And if you're listening to on the podcast, I would absolutely appreciate and adore a review. Even if it's 1 star, even if it's 5 stars, give me some feedback. Would absolutely appreciate a review. And I'd like to get to know you. I would like to talk to you. If you agree or disagree with anything on here, give me a follow on Twitter @GameSavvy, and we'll talk. And I'll talk to you later.